Greetings, everyone. Rev.Hawksblood here, calling from the big island of Hawaii. All right, now it's the beginning of a new year. All right, and I'm going to go over many things pertaining to what's supposed to be true, what's coming out, the information that they're feeding us. Any questions, please put them in the chat. All right, I want to let's start with the main thing, and that's called our government. All right, what have they been doing? All right, they have another group that just came out from the Pentagon saying they analyzed 500 cases of US UFO files. Big percentage were natural events, natural flares in the sun, light, earth, the moisture, all these excuses for these uh, scenarios of things happening. Complete lies, all right? Second of all, this other person, I'm not going to say his name, scientist came out, analyzed 100 actual documented cases of abduction. And he's in a college. He's working on cancer and everything else, but he said 75% of them have some kind of problem inside their brain. 25 of them, he couldn't give any scenario of why, how, or whatever. He was given their names, their file, their history, and all that, and he analyzed it all. Who is he? All right. Now, a person came out in disclosure. Another person came out 2 days ago saying he was involved in 1950 when they abducted aliens and stole their information. All right. Now, you don't hear much about that. Did they cut these people out? Did they cut them off? I can tell you this. I've been involved in the UFO world all my life, people. Not like these wannabe UFO investigators and storytellers. I have been next to an alien. I have been next to a ship. I have been next to a Bigfoot. I worked with demons, entities. I've been a high priest for about 4 years. I studied multiple religions. But I was doing ghost busting when I was 16. I started doing past life regression when I was 22. All right? I've been involved with all this. All right? In the interim, I listened to these so-called stories. But I worked with people when I was 20, 25. Women that were abducted, proved they actually lost their child. Proved it in detail. But people weren't out to come out to the world and say they were abducted by aliens and they took their children. All right, in general. The few that did are still called storytellers in most of the cases today. But here's the thing. When I work with these women that said they lost their children, I went to the hospital. They showed me the x-rays, the sonograms of the child. And then they showed the reports the day after. The hospital said they couldn't have been pregnant because there's no signs of it. And that was many years ago, 52, 62, in the 70s. UFO world wasn't big then. Not that it is now. I mean, it's more publicized, more people coming out and talking. But what are they actually saying? Not much. All right. The government has so many lies out there. The space program. I had the first astronaut on my show a long time ago. He said he saw things in space, but he never saw anything here on planet Earth. Well, I called him up with an actual event, and I said, I got actual proof, and he hung up on me. He can't get involved. Those people that sign their life away did sign their life away, people. The ones that are coming out are 70 years old. They probably still on Social Security, whatever they're getting, whatever money the government gave them, and all that kind of stuff. They do get paid, people. I'm going to go into one of the liars as well. I should throw it in right now, but let me finish this. All these people that were involved with real information, people, not fake stories or storytellers, were taken out. I have 16 friends, some of them very close, that were taken out in the past 25 years. in the UFO world. All right. And I was warned many times. One of the people that's still alive, which people aren't doing anything about, you think the whole UFO world would get him out of jail. His name is John Ford. He was arrested in 1969. No, sorry, 96. Sorry, I got dyslexia. And he filmed the best crash on Long Island. Not blurry, fuzzy, or any of those things. Crystal clear. All right. Somebody's talking about a false god. Well, we're not there yet, but there is a god. Whether you want to know it or not, that's a different story. But okay, all the evidence, everything was covered up because they turned around. I lived in Jersey at the time. I went to where the ship crashed in Long Island, and I actually saw the video. Well, for 3 weeks, they closed off almost a quarter of a mile. Black trucks, black cars around it, FEMA and CIA. Black trailers went in and out of it, taking all the debris out of there, while they said it was on fire. I don't know if you know much about Long Island. It's a flatland. There's no way a fire could go on for 3 weeks there, which it didn't. But they did try to burn the evidence down. When I went out there, you could see the runway where the ship crashed and came in. All the trees were notched out, but they were all burnt. All right. They didn't do a good job. They could have did a much better job if they wanted to cover the whole thing up. But I guess they had to get out of there as fast as they could. This was in Long Island. All right. I was living out there for a while as well. And that's just one story. So when I go back into all these other stories in my life, I can go on of my actual experiences, but I don't want to just talk about them because they're not lies. Let's talk about the lies. All the lies coming out every which way, everywhere. Now, I look at it this way. You have 100 files. If one of them's real, just one, guess what? It means it's real. So if they have 1,000 files and if only 2 or 3 of them are real, still means it's real, not a fake story. All right. So with that being said, all these cases, every week, every day, you could pull up videos shot somewhere on the planet right now. And their stories are ridiculous. And even in the Pentagon release all these files, they said it could be drones from China. Drones from China. Really? As far as I know, the drones don't have that kind of power right now. And if they did, what? What are they, traveling over the United States? Can they? Believe it or not, it's called a terrorist act if they fly a ship over the United States. Anywhere. It would be a classification for war. Russia would shoot anything over its country down. Now, I don't know if you know much about chemtrails, but we got a lot of planes flying into space putting out chemtrails. China says if they come over his airspace, he will shoot them down. Period. He wants global warming, but that's a totally different issue. All right. Here's the thing. When we go into the UFO world and you pull up information, you're going to read a lot of stories. And most of the stories sound great or good, however word you want to use it. But how important are they? And that's why I'm going to say, in all the things I'm going to break down, all the different ways we get our lies, look for what is really important to the human race. If UFOs from outer space are flying over us, it should be a little bit scary. And the government doesn't want to scare people. And there's a reason why for that. Not that they sold out humans, which they did. All right. They can't stop it. They can't stop abduction. They don't even know where it's going to happen. Now they're trying to keep up on top of all the abductee stories so they can kind of see where they're coming from, where they're going, and where they're taking people from. But problem is, it's everywhere. Not just here in the United States, not just Germany, China, Russia, Africa. All right. Now, there's a couple things that are happening in between that. All these people in the space program see things in space. I got a book out. It's a book. I'll send it to you. It's a PDF file. how to see a UFO. Anybody can see a UFO, and I'm not talking about a satellite. There's a couple programs on your cell phone you could pull up, and it shows you what's over you anytime. And if something's moving, it tells you what it is, if it's a satellite or not. So that alone could help you look in the sky and see what you're looking at and make sure that it's not a satellite. But here's one simple thing. You see a light in the sky? If it stops, if it goes sideways, backwards, it's not a satellite. All right? Simple. That's one thing. Speeds are incredibly different. Satellites don't travel. UFOs can travel over faster than the speed of light. And I'll tell you why. From 96 to 2002, I lectured with Global Sciences with Sergeant 18. We filmed ships every day, every single day. We had a $30,000 video camera. You set it up to look at the sky, and you leave it on record. You set it for 3/4 of the distance of the lens. You don't go full max out. You go 3/4 of the way. And you leave it on for an hour. Now, the main thing is it needs to shoot 300 frames a second. Many are getting up to 30 frames, cheaper cameras, 30 frames a second. Even that's better than 1 frame a second. Because in that, you watch it in slow motion, which takes a long time, which we did. But you will see ships cruising along, coming by, coming past, all day long. In an hour, we get to see 10, 12 ships. All right? And for the government to say, they're Russian ships, they're Chinese ships, or, whatever, they're not. We can't travel at that speed. Human bodies cannot travel at that speed. I'll get into that if I have time later. All right? The average human body in a spaceship can't travel at the speed the ships can travel at. When they're taking on a ship, they're not traveling through the universe. When I'm going to bring up this word many times during this talk today, experiences. People claiming to have a good experience with aliens. All right, there is no such thing, people. It's a lie. It's a program. Check our history. From the beginning of time, aliens were always here. Well, aliens became gods during the Mayans, the Aztecs, the Egyptians. They weren't working with deities anymore. The first religions, Hinduism, was working with deities. Before that, they were working with animals, so that's not beneficial in any way. But when they started working with deities, it was really a sexual movement. Deities were all into sex and all that. The whole Hindu religions based on sex and kind of sutra sex and all those words. But it has nothing to do with aliens. When the Egyptians and the Mayans started working with aliens, all their teachings are false, people. Why are all the races gone? Government can't answer that. It won't answer that. How long were they here? When did they first come here? They can't answer that either. History is his story, not real. Any hieroglyphics, any stones, writings, or any of that was written by man. All right? Man twists everything it writes or talks about. In his limited viewpoint, he tries to explain what he thinks he knows. All right, so when we talk about lies, 99% of everything you hear pertaining to aliens, pertaining to space, pertaining to chemistry, science, and all those things are lies. I'm going to get into a little bit about medicine and stuff, but I can't get into detail. I'll lose my show. You're not allowed to say certain things still. Free will? No. Free will not to talk about what you're allowed to say or what you think you can say. All right. When we talk about the government, we got FEMA, CIA. Now, we got 2 other things that are important, which nobody talks about. MJ-12. Laura Eisenhower, I did a show with her a couple years ago. She's supposed to come on, but I don't think she will right now. She's doing a big conference next month. A big UFO conference with about 80 speakers or whatever. If you're going to waste your money to go to that, text me, call me up what you learned that's important for the human race anytime after that. Spend all your money, go to this conference, listen to all these speakers. Bashar channeling an alien. These people, and what did they tell us? You know, in the UFO world, so many of the people that have prophecies said the world was going to be destroyed. Cavalacius, I don't know if I'm saying it right. He's from Australia. World was supposed to have died 3 years ago. I mean, Corey Good. Okay, he came out, said the world's going to be destroyed. All these people working with aliens. He said they show him videos of what's going to happen. A video in your mind can be projected easily. The government's technology, which I'm not going to get into, I can't prove it to you, but they have technology. They can actually film your dream. Imagine that. All right. And then when you go into your past life experiences or things like that, they can record that too. Are they going to release that information? No, because they can learn so much. When I was doing my own, I learned things. When I bring people to the point after they die, where they go, what they're looking at, what they see, then I bring them back into their next life. And you'll find out, and I'll tell you this, most souls, what you are, reincarnate over and over for a particular experience, whether it's truly trying to find what love is, what death is, what it's really about, what different things meant to you. You'll go through it over and over in different lifetimes, in different forms, to get the full understanding of whatever that problem is in your consciousness, in your mind. Either word are ridiculous because it's in soul itself that it has a hard time dealing with. And the 5 things that keep soul coming back: lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment. Attachment meaning attachment to things. What does this have to do with lies? When people tell you, oh, I'm going to tell you your past life, when you go to a psychic, they're going to tell you this, all these things about you. Nobody can tell you anything about you except yourself. Or they might hit things on the head, but they might hit a lot of things falsely. So, but I don't know, anybody have a question about the government? I'll answer it. But outside of that, MJ12 is created by Truman. They're the ones responsible for the Men in Black and everything else that happens in the UFO world where no truth comes out. And they did a good job. And they still are. Now, when I said 16 of my people that I know were killed, taken out, I can go into detail. My best friend, his whole family disappeared within 3 days. He worked for NASA. They told him he can't deal with UFOs, and he came over and we showed him UFOs. The next week, his whole family disappeared. All right. Things like that. I got a letter from NASA. Sargel was sent. We were going to do a workshop for global sciences. That night, an email came to him from NASA warning us not to get involved, sit back and watch what happens. I went to the conference. I met another woman, and her uncle was Ulysses S. Grant, and she put a 2,000-page book out on the New World Order. Basically, he created it, and they threatened to kill her if she went to the conference to release that book. She came. But here's the thing. Check it out. Global Sciences ended when the person that ran it died. But almost every year of one of the conferences, they did about 3 or 4 a year in different parts of the United States. A person always died right before the conference. All right? A lot of people get warned. I can go on the stories that I had within those years when Sargel and I went around the United States lecturing for global sciences. They had alien people come, or people said they were aliens. People were afraid of them. We had I had ex-people from Men in Black, friends with. I could go into the technology that they had, that they gave me a card with energy in it. All these things. And I'm talking, what year? 97, 98. All right. So people, Sargel 18 and I shot more pictures and videos of UFOs than anybody else in the world or the United States. Sadly, he changed his name, pulled everything we did in the past 25 years off the internet, off of everywhere he could. He bought a house, has new cars. I'm sure he sold out. When we used to do our UFO research up in where Tesla worked with DuPont, where basically one of the most important UFO stories ever to come out, or didn't come out, happened. Greetings. Now, when that I Don't have time to get into that. I might do it a whole show one day, because in the UFO world, people have no clue. When certain people came out and put books out, Peter Moon and people like that, only had parts of the story. They work with one of the people. Al Bielek and Preston Nichols were involved with the Philadelphia experiment. One of them was the one that went back in time. The other one did not. But I listened to both of them speak. I made friends with one of them, the one that went back in time. I could go in his stories. It's incredible, but it's real. And what happened during the Philadelphia experiment to the Montauk Project is the worst thing that ever happened to planet Earth, people. And you don't hear UFO people talking about that. Why? The worst vortex opened, which is allowing all these entities and different things coming into this reality. Oh, we're super beings. That when I get to those kind of things. Just finishing up on the government. MJ12 is MJ32 now. I had a friend in MJ12. He died right before he was supposed to give us something that could, I'm not going to get into it. He was going to give us something. All right. And then he was no longer in existence. People, I've been in this world longer than 99% of the other speakers out there. I have actual experience, which none of those people do. I mean, you got Whitney Schreiber, says he was abducted. You got Travis Walton, the alien hunter. All these people claim to be abducted. I can't be abducted. Big difference. I do a show with a woman that's been abducted most of her life and has more proof than any of these other people. But people don't want the truth. I put this out there. You know, the UFO people are afraid of me because they're putting bull stories out there and they don't want them broken down because they're making money, tons of money. The average top speaker at a UFO conference gets $15,000, $20,000 for the weekend to speak 2 hours and to go to dinner with everybody Friday night. That's how it goes down. But then you get people that are news people, radio people, becoming famous in the world. Never saw a UFO, never next to an alien, just telling everybody else's story. And they're becoming famous, making money. Why? Why do people like to spend money on lies? That's mind-boggling. People, I challenge anybody in the UFO world, all of them together. Any of the debates you go to, you're going to hear stupid, twisted lies and stories. Well, this is what's real. This is what's real. They have no clue why aliens are here yet. Nobody talks about that. And it's obvious. 100% obvious. The other thing is, there are no good aliens, people. I don't hear these people going, well, I was with the good aliens, and they took me to this planet, that planet. They showed me this and that. Funny, they don't have one shred of evidence. They never come back with one important fact beneficial to the human race. Why is that? I made a deal. I know I can't be abducted, but I deal with this ship all the time over my house. Seriously. I said, give me something and I will give you anything you want. Blood, semen, urine, whatever you want. Please, give me something back and I'll give you what you want. Voluntarily. And they're afraid to do that. I'll get into that a little bit later. But here's the thing. I met one person that has an artifact from a ship. You don't hear much about him anymore. These people that claim these stories, the alien hunter. I mean, he claims all this stuff. He claims he's Superman. He claims a lot of things. Ego is the biggest part of everything. Ego and money. So he's a top martial artist. He's this, that, and the other thing. So what? He's a psychic. He could read handwriting. Well, if it's scribbly, I guess what? But here's the thing, people. Don't let anybody tell you anything important. They can't. Because it's probably not important to you. We each have our karma and our lifetimes we went through. We know a lot of stuff if we ever get in touch with it, which we can. All right. Superpowers. I might as well say it right now. Let me save it for the next topic. But back to this world of government. They are not here to help us. Now, why don't you hear people talking about the underground cities? Why, people? They're there for a reason. You don't build a super underground city all across the United States for no reason. Now, Jesse Ventura, who I miss dearly, I mean, he's still alive, but he's not out there doing his TV shows. They blocked him. He did 2 full years. If you could watch any of them, watch any one of them. He proved many things. He went to a FEMA camp. He went to the underground city. He did a lot of things that nobody else ever did or tried to do. Good friend, not good friend, a friend, Fred Bell, not Art Bell, Fred Bell, was friends with Billy Myers, actually met with their aliens and was on ships with them and everything else. Well, he was on Jesse Ventura's show. And I guess they were getting involved with the HARP system. And he says, Jesse goes to him, aren't you afraid the government's going to come after you? He goes, no, I'm not. I work for the government. This is live TV. All right. And he goes, well, what about me? He goes, well, you're well protected. You're super high up there, mainstream. They're not going to come after you. 2 days later. All right. That's only one person. And I'm talking, I have 16 people that I know, friends, that have been taken out. All right. John Ford's still alive. He's one of the people that are in jail. I have 2 people in jail. My other friend just got out of jail, false charges, but he's dying now. So people, do you want the truth or you want to listen to lies and pay more money for it? I don't charge for anything I do. All right. I don't beg for money. I'm not trying to grub things from everybody else. I'm trying to give you the truth, not lies and stories and oh, the good aliens are coming. Oh, this has happened. Oh, they're not really here. Oh, people have no clue. If you never met an alien, you probably won't ever believe they're real. If you never touched a nearest ship, you're not going to believe they're real. Do you believe God's real? You ever touch him? Touch it? You believe angels are real? You ever touch them? Feel them? I mean, not dreams. Dreams are one thing. Inner experiences are another. And they're different. And there's a lot of different ways to check and prove which one's which. When you go to sleep, you have a lot of dreams. But somewhere in that nighttime experience, there'll be a live experience that you went through. That'll help you understand your past lives. All right. Let's get away from the government. All right. Let's skip the Pentagon because they're liars. They're not going to give us any real information. Before I go further, do you know anything about the Constitution of the United States, people? Everybody says, in the Constitution it says this. What does it say? Who wrote it? Man writes anything, it's twisted. The Constitution was written by rich fools. Fools, people. They didn't care about poor people. Period. And they worked on guns because they were killing every native person they could. They killed 50 million native people in 400 years, people. And that's why guns were always there. Not to shoot your friend walking down the street or children in a school. They were there to shoot native people. They got money. In those days, the government would pay roughly $60, $80 for a man's scalp, $40 for a woman's scalp, and $25 for a children's scalp. When you get a scalp, it means the person's dead. It wasn't the native people doing that, people, whether the TV shows want to make you believe that. Constitution was created against us, and it still is not for us. Even creating a militia. Thomas Jefferson was a massive native killer, created a clause we're allowed to defend ourselves. If the Constitution is wrong, if the people running it are wrong, we could create a militia. Now, Mr. Bush, after 9/11, the day after, says you're either for us or you're a terrorist group. They eliminated that rule. Anybody that forms a militia is a terrorist group, period. All right, but you got to put all these things together. Where are we going as a country? Who do we get our truth from? Liars, cheaters, stealers, rich people? Who's living in these underground cities? Not the poor people, not the homeless. All right, Jesse Ventura showed an old aerial missile base, and they converted it into an underground city, a town. And he said he would talk to him. He wasn't allowed inside it. said, well, we'll allow 10,000 people in here in time when we decide we have to. And he goes, well, what about people after that? They will not be allowed in, period. So guess what? They have everything planned, set in motion for a reason. Now, if you think your psychics are good, imagine who Hitler worked with, Khrushchev, all these people that had their own power. I was high priest, all right, when I was young. I went against the psychic of the mob, seriously, in New Jersey. All right. They put spells on the people that are going to testify them and everything else so that they can't testify. It's incredible. It's all real, people. But I'll get into that in a second. All right. When we talk about war, which is one of our biggest concerns right now, we talk about weapons. What weapons are they talking about? Nuclear bombs. That's not the only bomb we have. And it is very outdated. All right. Check out a proton bomb, neutron bomb, and an electron bomb. And they're outdated. When the government started working with aliens, they got incredible technology beyond what man has created. Now, I'm going to put this all together for you. Tesla. Nikola Tesla worked with an alien race. He did not go to school, come out of school, and invent 200 inventions. Time travel, including one of them. Weapons, earthquake machines. He didn't learn that in school. Neither did Einstein, but I'm not going to get into Einstein because people believe he's real too. But he also worked with an alien race. But he lied. He lied about a lot of things. But Tesla proved it had copyrights on all his inventions. The doomsday weapon and things like that. He disappeared for the last 10 years of his life in a hotel room in New York City without a penny. How's that? The most important dangerous weapons ever invented was by him. Fred Bell worked on the HARP system for the government, just so you know. All right. People, do you want truth? Do you want to put the links together where the United States got their technology from? Not Joe Schmo graduating college or anything like that. Not at all. Go into the facts. Go into where things were, who invented what. You know, the government is kind of like, I'm not going to say evil, because they got their own mission to take care of the rich people. Not you, not me. I don't know if you're rich or not, but not you or me. The rich people, yes. They got perfect cities and homes and everything else for them when whatever D-Day means. All right? And there is a time clock for it. They know when it's going to happen. Before I get off of that, everybody that's listened to this, go online, type alien interrogation. It's a 3-part thing. It's real. They had a real alien, and they were interrogating him. Whitney Schreiber is on the part that they showed on TV, and he's crying, what are they doing to the alien? What are they doing to the alien? Well, but they were torturing him. He said many things. He also said, one of the last things he did say, one person's going to destroy the planet. And they wanted him to say who it was. Guess why? And he says, I can't. And they were torturing him and trying to make him say it. He never told them, because he probably didn't know either. But it's only his knowledge, what he was releasing about mankind and everything that he was taught and programmed to believe as well. They do not have a God. And most of them, most races, do not have feelings and emotions, as we do. Take it easy. Glad you stopped by. Getting back to the point, when we deal with other people, and in the UFO world, they're all storytellers. Even if they have experience. Travis Walton still doesn't know why or anything about what happened to him. The alien hunter's going around trying to find proof and this and that. But what? What did he prove? That we get implanted? Person that was removing them died a couple years ago. But I saw him. He had bottles of implants that he removed. So are they implanting people? Yes. And they also prove they're alive inside the body, but when they're taken out, they're dead, whatever it is. How that happens, we don't have the technology yet. But I will tell you this. See this thing? It's called the meteorite. The government suddenly realized meteorites have superpower. They're ancient. They travel through space. So yeah. Well, I got an incredible one up in my special device over there. I don't even want to pick it up. It's real heavy. It's got everything on it, including a Tesla coil. But okay, people, let's move on. The war. Just finish up on the war thing. When there's a war, we don't hear how many people are really killed. We don't hear how many people are killed on the other side. We don't hear how many children and women were killed, do we? When a country says, oh, nothing happened, we didn't lose many people. Like Chernobyl, do you know how many people really died and how it is right now? This fish on TV just 2 days ago. Radiation doesn't disappear. Check out the election destroys for 100 years. Right? There's different kind of bombs. Do you want to blow up the city or do you just want to blow up the people? You just want to kill the people? What do you want to do? Each one has a different effect. And it's not like, if you want to take over a country, why destroy all the houses and buildings and everything? Why would you want to do that? Because you're a fool. Ignorant. And all those words. Look at Tibet. They just lost 72 people yesterday. All right, they just found 2 more bodies today. All right. Tibet was taken over by China for years. My partner's a Lama, a Buddhist, sorry. And she works with a High Lama on Maui. And I dealt with him a lot. And we talked a lot. Women were being raped constantly while they were destroying their temples. If a person did a prayer about the Dalai Lama, they were killed. Seriously. They had a picture of the Dalai Lama on a wall, they would be put in jail. He can't go back. And he should have told his people that he's no longer their Lama. Because he's in the world, in Canada, and everywhere else saying world peace and all that, while his country got destroyed. The Lamas and children were in the streets burning themselves, begging the Dalai Lama to come back. For years. And he sits there saying, oh, peace, love, world peace. Really? What planet? People, listen to these people that you think are spiritual. I'll talk about the Pope when I get into religion. But, Dalai Lama is a religious person in a so way, but I say more on a spiritual end. But when you eliminate God, you eliminate everything, people. Like when we blow a bomb up in a city and destroy all the families. You know, in Vietnam, on their side, the children were 14 years old. The lies that came out with that. My ex-girlfriend was from a millionaire family. She was in Vietnam on the front line. She was a nurse. She went back to Vietnam in the 90s. She opened up a school there. She also was taken to an underground vault where they had all the skulls of all the prisoners that they kept. She actually took 2 back home on a plane. She had all the name tags they gave her. They don't like white people in their country. And they gave her all the name tags. They took her to a prison camp. For real. I don't know if you remember Rocky Stallone came out with a movie when they went into Vietnam to get the prisoners. That was not a true story, but it was based on what was really happening. There was 125 prisoners still there in the 90s. Well, when she came back to the United States, she smuggled one of the Vietnamese women that helped her get out of Vietnam with the skulls and the name tags. She was put in prison. They almost killed her, but she got out. But when she came back to the United States, they met her at the airport. They took the 2 skulls and they took her name tags. Then when they did DNA on the skulls, they realized it was a U.S. person that went to Vietnam. They asked her to go to the house to tell them that she found their skull, and she said, no, I'm not doing that. But people, when they tell you this, that, and the war's over, it was never over. Not for a long time. And they talk about saving one person while they would let 125 people rot in Vietnam prison. And that's your government. All right. I guess I did enough. I'll probably lose my show because of this, but that's fine. There's many other places to go. There's always another hole to crawl down. Do we hear what's going on in space ever? Of course not. What are they going to tell you? What they're really doing? What they really find? Even when we went to the moon, the United States was the one that came back and put all the flyers out that we didn't go to the moon. Because they had all the pictures of what they found on the moon. Guess what? Japan says, don't worry, we got a copy of every picture you shot. So they couldn't cover that up. But people, guess who went to the other side of the moon recently? And they said they found things, but they didn't release it, did they? I'll tell you this. I saw a video shot from the other side of the moon from an astronaut. There's a city there. All right, people, look, you can listen to these storytellers all you want about, oh, the good aliens did this, or we're going to do this with them. And look at all the races that came and went off of this planet. The Egyptians followed aliens. All their teachings are false. If you ever want to deal with that or understand it, please get in touch with me. We could go over it. All right. Here's the thing. We go on about what we hear and we believe it. Do you remember a couple of years ago when we went inside the moon? We blew a rocket inside there. It was on TV, live, until it reached the moon. When it reached the moon, it blacked out. Oh, why? They never showed you what happened when they did what they were supposed to do or what they told us they were going to do. Going back to when we sent a ship up with a monkey on it, when we sent a ship up with potatoes growing in a thing on it, that's what we were told. But what was the real mission? Now, there's videos online about UFOs, people. They put a mile-long tail off of a ship. And watch it. It should be out there still. All these ships coming up to it and everything else. And that was how many years ago? I'll tell you, I can see at least 5 to 10 ships a day in the morning, early morning. Not satellites, people. Satellites are little. Put them miles out there. You think you're going to see a little lunchbox ship flying through space? You're not. All right. Sure, the first ones were the size of a trailer and stuff like that. But when they put 1,000 satellites on a little ship and send it up into space, how big do you think they are? And you think they got spotlights on them and things like that? Really? What do you think they run on? Nuclear power, obviously. But again, do they want to have lights on? What do they need a light for? They don't. They don't need a lot of things that we assume, it has blinking lights on. No, it doesn't. Why? It's telling other satellites don't come near me? No. There's a site, I lost it, and it showed you every site exactly where they are. But with Mr. Musk sending 10,000 up, and he wants, 26,000 up there. You're not even going to be able to see it on a graph. They're tiny. But when they first went up 2 years ago, we all saw them. This giant balls of light going across the sky. But here's the thing, people. You believe the lies of all these things going on. They don't tell you what they're doing in space. Oh, we walked around the spaceship. All right. We landed on the moon. Okay. We're going up to the moon again. Why? Oh, we found water. We've heard this. They just found another planet exactly like ours. All right. Now, if you know anything about which races are real, good, or bad, 99% of them are bad. One race is kind of good in one way. The tall whites, not the Nordics, the tall whites. but they're extremely dangerous to us. They will kill us if we touch them or they touch us. But they had a planet. They wanted us to go to it. And they said they would take us there. You got to be put in a special suit and all kinds of things, but they said they would take us there. The United States government says, no, we'll get there. We'll get there. I don't know if we're friends with the tall whites anymore. We probably aren't. But you heard of Area 51. Did you hear 52, 53, and 54? The different races, people. The truth's out there. Do you want to hear it? Or you want to live in dreamland with all these UFO speakers that know nothing? I was with an alien. We went out for dinner. What'd you eat? Humans, did you know that? What are you eating? How many people even know what they eat? Know if they go to the bathroom? Know anything about them? The Greys just suck up the blood through their pores, and that's how they eat. They don't have a mouth that they don't eat like we do. The reptilians are different. They have sex like humans do. They're built a little different, but they have sex with humans. All right? You want the truth. Nobody talks about the truth. All the people that I knew years ago are disappeared, gone, or killed, or missing, or whatever. I'm talking about the real truth, not storytellers. Storytellers live forever. The worst thing out there in the UFO world, sorry people, Stephen Greer, the biggest liar of them all. He tells the world that the government offered him $2 billion to leave the UFO world. $2 billion. They take people out. We're going to give him $2 billion? And if Mr. Stephen Greer disappeared, guess what? Everybody know he disappeared. But guess what? He's a government plant. He doesn't tell us anything important. What he wants to do with the human race is teach them how to talk to aliens. And what do you think an alien's going to say to you? Stupid fool, listening to me? What can they tell you? They gave us technology to destroy the planet. Tesla's inventions, 50 of the most deadliest weapons on the planet. I know some of them. Somebody I'm close to was in the Army, was a scientist and worked on a couple of the inventions and stuff. But Fred Bell, he worked on the HARP system. Jesse Ventura went in the White House and asked them about what they're going to do with the HARP system. Why would you want to use it for this, that, and the other thing? And I said, well, we didn't know what we were going to use it for. But they do, and they are. We got one here in Hawaii, on this island. There's one on the other island, Maui. Check out Waimea High School. They got the equipment to test for the HARP system there. You know, we're not waiting for anything, people. Aliens will let themselves known if they want to be. The government can't. The government can't come out and say we sold human race for trade. They can't say that. What would you do to your government if you know they were trading people for technology? Which they were. All those little stories you don't hear are real. The second most important UFO story was Gizmo, quiet. All right. We heard, I told you about John Ford. All right. But there's another story much more important than that one. He was taken inside a base, an alien base. They killed about 67 Green Berets. He got out of there, but he was blasted. Got a slit across his stomach. They blasted half of his hand off and blew out his foot. Then when he got out, he started speaking about what happened. What did they say? He was mentally disturbed and he did that to himself. Really? How do you blow your foot out? How do you cut half of your hand off and rip your stomach from top to bottom? He was found dead, wrapped up in barbed wire. No blood, nothing. Really, people? He was only out there 6 months before he was killed. All right. The stories out there are important if you find the right ones. Now, I could play for you right now. Do you ever hear of Edwards Air Force Base? Well, a friend of mine was up in that tower when it was under, I won't say attack because they didn't attack them, but under the influence of about 3 ships over the base for an hour. I got the original copy of it. I can play it. I probably should. It might be online. But it takes an hour for the government to send 2 ships out there to investigate the UFOs that were over the base. This person had to call that person. That person has to call. It's all on tape. It's all actually recorded when it was happening. They had to call this person. Well, we have to get in touch with these people. And then they said, well, these people said they can get in touch with the people that launched 2 ships out there. And when the ships came, they just got to see the UFOs shoot out into space. Live event. Not Russia, not China, not Germany. Nothing we could do about it either. When I was born, which is in 52, 2 different days during a week, UFOs were over the White House. A fleet of them. If you believe China or Russia or Germany, any country had a fleet of ships over the White House, you better think again. If it was that, we were still at war at different times. They could have taken us out if that was really Russian ships or German ships. Well, let me tell you this. We were working with the Germans. We were working with Russians. All right. Mr. Putin himself, 3 months before Mr. Trump got elected, people, listen to this. I'm not making it up. All right. He said, I want you, said this about Trump. And he wasn't president. I want you to release the truth about 9/11, which nobody knows today. All right. And he says, I want you to tell the world what you're doing with UFOs and aliens. He said, and this is in his words, I had a friend translating it. It was Russian on Russian TV. He says, we're working with many races. 2 of them want to destroy the planet. Why would he say that? If he wasn't at war with them, how would he know they want to destroy the planet? All right. And that was, 3 months before Trump got elected. Now, the funniest thing, I think it is, the day Trump meets Mr. Putin, he comes out and says, we're going to create a space army, which already existed. All right. I think that would be a little strange for him to come out the day after he meets Mr. Putin. But the problem is, Trump says he doesn't believe in UFOs. His son said, well, tell me, you must believe. And he goes, no, I don't. But here's the thing, people. Program people in the government can't go against the program. Now, a person that I don't like, Bud Hopkins, is now dead. He put out so many books on abduction. One of his last books was about an abduction in New York, when this woman got abducted out of the window out of her house and brought up into the ship. The only thing weird, Congress was on the Marizano Bridge coming across. They just had a meeting in New York City, and all the cars were frozen when it happened. He got letters from about 10 of those people. What was it? What was really going on? And that's as far as the story went. But he did get letters from them saying, what was it? What was really happening? How'd that happen? All right. Things that go down are pretty much covered over when it pertains to aliens, government, UFOs. I mean, all that. It's twisted truth. I mean, now to think aliens don't have the power to come out whenever they want, they do. They always did. I tell people, watch the day the earth stood still. If the aliens wanted it to go down like that, it would. All right. And it's not going to. At least not yet. Realize alien technology is 1,000 times more advanced than we are. They're so far away from God, they don't want to hear our sob stories because they don't have feelings and emotions. They don't think of playing with somebody's body when they got it on a ship, people. And they didn't ask for permission to do it. And then you get UFO people. Well, I made a commitment in my past life to come back to volunteer. Volunteer to give your body to an alien? Is that ridiculous or what? I mean, I've been in the UFO world. I went to so many lectures, conferences, and it's just sad how twisted the stories come out. Now, this conference that's coming up next month with all these big speakers, big name speakers, there's going to be very little truth that's going to be important for us. Like you said, when would aliens come out? When would they want to tell us that they're here? When it doesn't really matter. Our government is attacking two races right now, people. I'm not going to go into the details. Read a friend of mine's book, Sands of Time, Sean David Morton. There's more facts in that book than all the other UFO books put together, except Fred Bell's book, Rays of Truth, Crystals of Light. He explains a lot of things because he was friends with Billy Meyer's alien friends. He was on their ships and stuff. But here's the thing, people. Do you want the truth? Who are you going to get it from? I mean, I'm sure you believe I'm crazy or insane or whatever the story is. But while you're listening, aliens are perverts. Well, you know, we're perverts to them. Look at sexual perversion on this planet alone. My book coming out, I just finished my last book, and it's not about aliens, it's about sexual abuse and rape. What's going on this planet in detail. Every aspect about it, how to stop it, how to prevent it, and everything else about the laws and all that. Yeah, I put that up because that's the biggest problem on this planet. The perversion to children and women. It has always been there, people. Since day one. Since Atlantis was destroyed, this is where aliens came down and said, hey, everything that walks, you need to sacrifice them, torture them, you need to all these things. They taught us how to kill, which we didn't do, people. Atlantis was the Garden of Eden, and nobody can tell you that. Scientists have no proof of anything they tell you anyway, and they're not going to tell you anything about Atlantis. I met a few people that were alive in Atlantis. Carrie Cassidy was in Atlantis as well. She was in it in the end times when it was destroyed. All right. Basically, you can prove things to yourself, and that's the way you should. But you need to get in a place where you can experience something different other than the lies you hear. All right. The UFO world is real. I put my life on the line on that. I'm telling you, everything I say, I believe and know is truth for myself 100%. Oh, Paul, yeah, that was a cool movie. All right, religion, people. How many religions are out there? Over 2,000. Over 2,000 religions. But 2 of them have the most of the population of the planet. Christianity has 2.5 billion, and the Muslims have 2.2 billion. Considering there's about 8 billion people on the planet. And then you got to break it down to all the other religions, which have a quarter or a tenth of that. And some of them even 1% of 1%. All right. How much can they offer people? Now, do you believe in angels? If you believe in aliens, do you believe in angels? Do you believe in demons? All right. You know, people that write movies and things like that have parts of the truth. Steven Spielberg, when he did his 6-part UFO trilogy, had a lot of truth in it. You know, when the movie X-Files came out, the first one, not the second one, which was ridiculous, but the first one, there's a lot of truth in there. And I told you I work with MJ12. Well, it had to do with honey. And that whole movie's about bees and everything else. For a reason. Because it's a big part of the story why they're here. All right. Yeah, we're just killing the bees now, which is scary because bees pollinate everything. But the bats are dying. Oh, one other thing, since you brought that up, there's a video online, pull it up. All the animals around the world are in giant circles, running in circles. Different kind of animals. Whether it's the energy making them do that, all right. I'll tell you this. I got into a big debate with uh, the great person on alien abduction. I can't even say her name right now. Oh man. Uh, well, basically, she was on Coast to Coast. I got to debate her 3 times, once for a while. She claimed that all the cows and the elk and deer that were dying in the United States were dying from drinking water from the volcano. A lie. Complete lie. She lies a lot, people. Catching her in a lot of lies. And after 40 years of doing cow mutilation, she can't prove one thing about it. Not one thing about it. And she's considered the top investigator on it. Investigating something, if you can't prove anything, what good are you as an investigator? She was on Coast to Coast almost the whole time he was on. And she actually proved nothing and said a lot of lies. Well, when I confronted her on Coast to Coast, I said, I just drove across the United States. I stopped in a town where they had one of the scientists, doctors, and they had to say how the elk were dying. They came up with the mad cow disease. And that's not normal at any level either. But now with these animals going around in circles, all through history, animals have died in super numbers for some weird reasons and stuff. Like when millions of fish got washed on the Jersey Shore. I can go into a whole story on that. There's reasons behind everything, but nobody in science has a clue to what they are. Because they're looking for a solid, like a little detailed cell to prove something. When it's not provable. Psychic abilities are there. I proved that to myself when I was 16, when I became a high priest. There's 32 psychic abilities. Jesus only used half of them. I was going through them all, one by one. But the 2 that I wanted were the 2 that I never got to be able to do. And the most important one to me was levitation, because I was a magician as well, a stage magician. And levitation's always the coolest thing, but doing it where it can't be proven is a different thing. But we got somebody like Caroline Corey. She put 3 movies out, claims a lot of things, claims she can change people's DNA, claims she can levitate a piece of paper. Wow. You can levitate a piece of paper, you can levitate a car. These people, she claims the whole abduction thing and drones and clones and all these things are good for mankind. These people are brainwashing us. Her, Stephen Greer, Corey Good, and all these people telling us what's going to happen. I was a high priest for 4 years. I challenged everybody in that. I was in Jersey. Yeah, I did a lot of things during that time frame. I proved every psychic ability exists. But here's the thing, people. Psychic abilities cannot be used wisely on this planet now. In Atlantis, we all had 32 psychic abilities. But we weren't killers, murderers, rapists, or any of those things. All right? We didn't want money. We didn't need money. All those things that... I was on a radio show that they had about 40 different speakers every day for the whole week. But I was on for about a year. And this one lady claimed she was a top psychic. I said, oh, you're a top psychic. Go to the casino and win a couple $1 million. Oh, I could do that any day. And I say, why are you sitting there smoking a cigarette? People claim and believe things, even if they can't prove them to themselves. If you can't prove it to yourself, it's useless. If you can't prove God exists, it's not a real thing. When you pray to a statue, that's all you're doing. People that use the word in the New Age world, I'm going to get into because I don't know how much time I'm going to go through this, but in the New Age world, they use the word Christ consciousness. Do you have a freaking clue what that means, people? The people that use it. Well, I live through Christ consciousness. And then the other word they throw in with that is ascension. I worked with T.J. Morris. We did show for 12 years. She claims she created that whole idea in Hawaii in the 80s. There's only one definition of ascension, which most people don't know because they didn't go through it or have no clue. Ascending means you ascend into heaven. Ascension is not ascending into heaven. It's going through a vortex into a place. Jesus was the only one that I know that has did it, except for Mary Magdalene. I'm not going to get into that. My book, The True Teachings of Jesus from God Realization, is about that. But basically is Jesus had psychic abilities, which he had to try to teach his disciples. How many people could really bring a person back from the dead? You know, there was a group going around the world proving that psychics are fake. They went into Indian villages and stuff like that, all over the world. And this one guy I think they had 4,000 people in the audience. And they took a snake and bit a dog on stage. And they said, if you can't heal this dog, you're going to have to tell the world you're a fake. So they bit the dog with the snake, and they let the dog fall on the floor, and now it's dying. And this psychic healer claimer is whacking it with a feather and going around in circles, whacking it with a feather, and the dog dies. I can go into that. Like I said, I was into every aspect, every psych. I met with Kreskin. I learned how to do hypnosis when I was 11 years old, started doing it when I was 14. To all my friends, I want to hypnotize myself to be a super powerful being, which is possible, but I didn't want to do that when I realized what I would create. But here's the thing, people. The psychic abilities, if you think you can change one thing without changing everything else, it's impossible. Time travel, which we can do, which our government's doing, is dangerous. When Al Bielek went back, that shouldn't have. When I met with him, he was offered $4 million to go back in time to rearrange the situation that happened. Sergeant 18, who I was with at the time, said, I'll go, I want to go with you, I'll go. But he did go back in time. Because the next time we saw him, he was about 25 years younger than he was when he went. All right. But that's only one scenario. Clairvoyance is what we have. It's an ability. And it's, we all have it. But to try to use it for like remote viewing, and then when they try to control energy and things like that, it becomes super dangerous and wrong. The 32 psychic abilities cannot be used spiritually. I'll put it that way. If you understand there's a God, you don't have the power over God to change things. You can make things usable, but to change a cow into a flying dragon or any of those things, man is playing God. And that's why this is hell, people. Whether you want to believe that or not, soul, which you are, is in hell. And when you reincarnate, you come right back here. You don't go into a place that's on fire. You don't go into anything worse than here. Because in hell, you experience pain. You get sick. You could lose an arm, a leg, and you get burned. See your children die. See your mother, wife die. All those things. It doesn't happen in the next realm or the realms beyond that. This is as bad as it gets for soul. So you're in hell. It doesn't get worse. And knowing that, you can come back over and over. If this is what you consider pleasure, what controls this planet? Sex, drugs, drinking, sports, cheap thrills, and sex. I'll say fake love. All right? They're not spiritual. None of them. And you don't understand love until you understand God. If you can't understand God, you can never truly understand love. If God loves you so much, why would he put you in hell? And there's reasons, people. Aliens have no clue about any of that. They want to convince us that they're God and control us and use us. And it wasn't to mine gold, people. They're thousands and thousands of years more advanced than we are. We could create gold right now. Imagine what they did a long time ago. They needed gold, they could create it. They didn't have to come down here and get slaves to mine gold for them. Go through history. Every king, every superpower on this planet always had tons of gold. They could just take it from them if they really needed gold at any time. But they didn't. Sorry, people. You want to believe the Anunnaki story. You want to believe Zecharia Sitchin, one of the biggest storytellers on the planet in the UFO world. And half of the UFO people believe it. That's scary. Real scary. All right. Deja vu, clairvoyancy, audio, and all those. I can't say all the words right now, but there's, like I said, I got them all written down if you want to hear them all. But they're all using energy, trying to control it, trying to tap into it. But here's two things you need to learn: out-of-body projection, astral projection, and past life remembrance. Two things that will bring you to a more spiritual level, to a higher level of awareness. Nothing else will. Praying and dreaming and fantasizing will not bring you to there. First, you have to understand soul is eternal. And what soul really is. How many people know that or even have a clue? And it's not the mind. It's not consciousness. Another horrible program word that people accept. I mean, Buddha was great for bringing that out because he doesn't believe in God, didn't work with God, doesn't understand God. He didn't go to the higher realms. The astral plane where bliss state exists, if you want to attain that, live in the light and sound forever. But you don't do anything. Don't think of anything else. And you become a vessel. That's all. But as a soul, God grant you the ability to attain whatever level you want. I mean, whether you accept this or not, God allows souls to go past it, where it dwells. Doesn't mean it's becoming greater than God. But each plane, after the astral plane, which is still part of this reality, 1,000 times better. So why would you want to come back to hell? Because you don't know how to get any further than that. You don't know anything better than that. But when you go into the astral plane, it's cool when you get there for a while. But even that becomes, well, if you're not on a spiritual quest, it's a good home for a long period of time. When you die, you'll come back within 10 years, roughly, the average time that a soul gets to stay there. I spent my whole life dealing with this, people. I had 5 death experiences, spent 45 years traveling out of my body, meeting with deities, angels, and demons. They're all real. They all have missions that God allows them to do. And scientists have their ego, is all they have. I mean, what they tell us about history. They have no clue why the pyramids were built so big, why the giants aren't here and the Anunnaki, blah, 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 made us. No, they didn't make us. They can't make whatever. You want to believe these lies. Proof of heaven or hell? Well, you're in hell. You don't have to prove that. The Pope said, let's get into a religion real fast. The Pope said there's no such thing as hell. Why would he say that? Then he wants to rewrite the 10 Commandments. 2 of them anyway. He also came out, and this is a couple years ago. Adam and Eve was a fake story. Well, it was. If you read it, if you ever picked up a Bible, read Adam and Eve's story. It's only a few pages. Read it 5 times or 10 times. You'll see that God's lying, that he's talking about beings. He's talking about everything other than what you think the story's about. But read the words that God says. Read the words that Adam hears. God doesn't have to lie to Adam. Why would it? I mean, when God talks about his kind, what's his kind? God kinds? No. Yeah, there could have been aliens playing with humans at the time, but it wasn't the story of Adam and Eve. I mean, of the first person to walk the planet. There was 9 races brought to this planet, people, not 4. All right, being not the 4, black, yellow, red, and white. There was a blue race, the green race, the crystal race, the invisible race. They were all here. 5 races left because they didn't need to stay here anymore. There's no reason to. Once you attain awareness, which is why you're here, not awareness of the government, awareness of money, awareness of children. No, that's a reflection of your ego. I mean, llamas go up into a cave for 40 years and attain nothing. They don't even know what the country's like or the world's like when they come out. And their countries are being destroyed. So, praying for 40 years didn't help much. Praying for 1 year didn't help much. In religions, they talk about Jesus. Well, I'm going to say this. I'm aware of all my lifetimes back to Atlantis. I have 2 important lifetimes other than the one I'm in now. One was in Atlantis, and the other one was when Jesus was alive. I was a female in that lifetime. Mary Magdalene was my closest friend. And I'll tell you more about her than anybody else in the religious world on this planet. Because they don't know her. They didn't give her respect. Except, which I only learned recently, France, they got Mary Magdalene's skull. They said it's probably the most powerful artifact on the planet. It's in a temple. People go there to get healed and everything else. Well, she had Jesus' power. Mary, the mother of Jesus, was a nobody, people. She didn't have power. She didn't do anything other than give birth to a child. Mary Magdalene had to teach the disciples. Well, most of them were killed. But Thomas did leave when she left the country. She went to France and around there. And Thomas went to India. India had Jesus' teachings there. Well, they claim Jesus went there too. But no, that wasn't Jesus. They didn't have name tags and say, oh, I'm Jesus, I'm this or that. They all had the same kind of hairdo and same kind of clothes. And you could say people would believe whoever they wanted you to be. Like they said, Jesus is God. God never said he was Jesus. Jesus never said he was God. Ever. Never. Father. And he used Father because they didn't understand the word God. The truth's there, people, but you want to live in your fairy tales? That's fine. You want to die in a fairy tale? That's fine. You want to reincarnate again without any awareness of anything that you did? That's going to happen too. When you reincarnate, you don't reincarnate with all the memory of all your lifetimes that you had. There's a few souls that are attaining awareness, are attaining that knowledge, which why I said is critical. Critical to living in the moment today. Why you have karma. What's karma all about? It's why do I got to go through this? Because you have to. If the world blows up tomorrow, everybody here deserves that karma. Because you're here now, in the present, in that moment that it's happening. All right. You say, well, I'm a good person. What makes a person good? Going to church Sundays? We believe a lot of lies. Praying changes things? Tibet was praying for how long? And look what happened to the country. Protection. Jesus did not come here to save your sorry ass, people. You want to believe that? That's your choice. Do you know what Jesus talked about? When he talked to the people on the mountain, he was talking to lame people that didn't know much. They couldn't say the word God even. When he was teaching his disciples, he was teaching them psychic abilities. But again, if they couldn't learn to leave their body, they would have never met Jesus. Well, Mary Magdalene had to teach him. And Paul was the most ignorant out of them all. Because a woman was teaching him now, not Jesus, and he didn't want to believe a woman. If he didn't slowly accept what she was teaching, he would have never saw God either. Paul in the Bible, Saul, never met Jesus physically. He learned technique and he met with him that way. And that's why I'm saying it's so critical to learn to leave your body, understanding what you are without this car that you drive around in, meaning your body. And now with science and the new age UFO crazy people saying, we're six-dimensional beings and we're going to do this and we're going to do what? What? What are you going to do? In light and sound, when you become a light being, what do you think you need to do? Build another car? Build another spaceship? People, you're programmed from the day you're born. You believed in Santa Claus, you believed in the Easter Bunny, you believed in all of those things. Did they exist? No. Sadly to say, the person I did my UFO research with for many years tried to prove Jesus, Santa Claus was real, and all these things, which I thought was pretty sad. But again, ego drives people to the max of the truth that they don't have. So when they believe they're better, suddenly the world changes. Now, before I end the show, I have to say this. I say it everything I do. Jesus said more than 3 times, but it's 3 times in the Bible alone, said, it's easier for a camel to go through an eye of a needle than a rich person to get into heaven. Facts, people. Money will never get you into heaven, no matter how much you have. All right? Sorry. You can believe what you want. Pay everybody you want off. Pay every psychic to come to your house and tell you whatever you want to hear. But it's all stories. All right. Heaven's real, but it's not one plane of existence. Jesus in the Bible said, in my Father's mansion is many rooms. And that was written to people that didn't understand dimensions and realms and all that. Those words didn't exist then. So it was hard for him to teach what he was trying to teach them. And they took it as the bathroom, the bedroom, the living room, and the dining room. And they didn't understand the astral plane, the mental plane, soul plane. All right. The average soul goes through many reincarnations. When I mean many, hundreds. Not 1, not 2, not 3. Realize how many time frames existed. And when I came down in Atlantis, which was a long time ago, 100,000, divide that by even 100. Oh, well, sometimes you live 500. No, people really didn't live to 500. Time frames were different. Things were different. And to say that if all your friends died, who can prove how much? Did they keep track of every day and date that you were born and carve a notch in a stone every time you had another day or year? You know, there's so many lies written by man. The Emerald Tablets was not written by man. Sumerian tablets, the Rancher, all those stories were created by man. Yeah, right, the billiard room. That's where everybody wants to go hang out. But they need the beer and liquor to go with it and shoot up before they get in there, whatever the story is. Mankind doesn't want God. I mean, if you read Revelations, it goes into what's happening in detail. John wrote it a long time ago. People, if you're a Christian or a religious person saying you are, I'll tell you this. Read Revelations again. Stop when John talks about what sins cannot be forgiven. It's in the Bible, people. In your Bible. Go to Revelations, it's halfway through it, and read it. It'll tell you what you can't be forgiven for, which is what most people think they can be forgiven for. Killing is probably, and rape are probably the 2 most obscene things on this planet. And if you think you can ask for forgiveness for that, you're really dreaming. If you take out a soul, a person's body out, and that soul gets stuck somewhere, all the things that body was supposed to go through, like have children, have families, and all those children were supposed to have families, and all those families were supposed to have children. You know what you do to a civilization? Just for killing one person? I'm not saying that person had to ever get married. Maybe he doesn't, or didn't, or wouldn't have. But if he did, or if he was supposed to, Killing is so corruptive to our evolving as a human race, which we're not. I wish we were. Now, people, just a couple. I got to throw this in real fast. Scientists prove nothing. They give you a drug that's supposed to cure one thing. On TV, it says it may cause death. What? I'm curing my problem here, but it may cause death. How could they legally sell that? People, you're so brainwashed and programmed to accept what they put on you. Everything you eat has poison in it. The original vaccine, my brother was a chemist. He worked for Ciba-Geigy. They made the vaccine for the flu. There's 3 poisons in there? There's a 4th poison which nobody knows what it is. Nobody that worked in the company. And everybody's told to take that. You think anything that we're getting now is better? Really? 150,000 people die daily. 100,000 die in the hospital. But there's 300,000 being born every day. So the population still is growing, even though the numbers of dying is incredibly high. And government knows that too. Population depletion is happening. It has to. For what they're doing. For these underground cities to survive and everything else. They know people are going to be dying and trying to get in. You realize what will happen when that happens? You say we're blowing up other countries, but blowing up your own people? Do you realize, do you have a clue that any of this? Probably not. UFO people don't talk about real important things ever. Oh, there was a ship. Oh, there was a ship. There's billions of them every week around the planet. Does that matter to you? No, I don't see any. What you don't see, you don't believe in. I mean, that's normal. I mean, I saw over 1,000 ships from close. I was next to one. I was next to an alien. So can I doubt it? Was I on drugs? Was I alone? No. They're my stories, but so what? It's not going to help you believe anything unless you experience it. The first thing you need to do is see a UFO. Then from there, you can work on, if you're on a spiritual path or on an ego trip, whatever it is. Well, I want to say I saw a UFO. Okay. I'm in Hawaii. 8 out of 10 people saw a UFO here. 1 out of 20 was abducted. It's bizarre. I mean, I don't get down to the ocean at night, which I really want to do. It doesn't shoot in the dark. All right. Yeah, it was a camcorder. I was just trying to get some other camera to use at nighttime, but it doesn't shoot in the dark. And the magnification isn't as great as it sounds. Remember, when you go for magnification, digital versus optical are really important. Optical means you're really enhancing it and blowing it up, where digital means it's mechanically blown up. So yeah, big difference between the two. So look for the I bought a camera that was 86 times optical zoom. Incredible for distance. But it took seconds to focus at nighttime, so it was useless for me. When you see UFOs, you don't get that much time. And then again, you could have the best camera shooting a UFO, and they don't want you to record it. And your camera will die. Seriously. Look at what's happening to people on the Skinwalker Ranch. They sent out millions of the dollars on this equipment and everything just stopped working. 3 times. Was it a coincidence? Of course not. But realize, all these psychic abilities that we worry about, aliens have. They could see and feel what we think and all that and know it. If they want us to record something, they'll let us. If they don't, we won't. I was in Hawaii, and a giant triangle ship came out from the mountain right next to me. And it might have been 100 feet above my head. It was so loud, it was blasting my eardrums out. But I pulled out 2 cameras. Both of them died instantly. Technology out there is way beyond what you want to understand or they want you to know about. Hologram video cameras, of course they have them. They're real. You know, it was on the internet 2 years ago. They said they might release them this year. That's not going to happen for a while. People, I work with the guy that invented laser photography. I went to school with him. I was going against him in the science fair. Sure, he won first place. The other guy invented the moon probe. I came in third. I came in honorable mention after third place. But they got a week cruise on an army ship. One got this, and I got a box of toys to play with from Bell Labs. But people, I've been in this all my life. I wanted to learn about God from the day I was born. I wanted to understand about all spiritual aspects. I work with ghosts and demons. I was doing exorcisms. I was doing ghost busting when I was 16 as well in New York City. With my best friend was one of the top psychics rated by New York Psychic Center. And we went there once a week, at least, to the Jumeau Mansion. It was the most haunted house in the United States. George Washington came here, built his headquarters there. His army fought on that mountain. And then Madame Jumel bought the house with Samuel Jumel. He died in that house. A soldier fell down the stairs on a bayonet. I go into the stories about it. But truthfully, do you want truth? Do you really want it? Go into a UFO conference, please. Anybody that does, they probably won't listen to this because they're so brainwashed already. Come back and tell me. I'll say a name. Boy, maybe I won't. Michael Sala. He lived in Hawaii. And he blocked me finally. Said, if you email me again, I'm going to block. I said, do whatever you have to do. Because I called him a fool. I said, you're in the United States, and all you got to do is put down the United States government. I mean, they're not working for us, but they're still our government, and we can't do anything about it. But to put them down, go back to Australia. I told him, go back to Australia. You got the biggest army base on the planet there in Australia. It's half the United States and it's half England's. And why is it in Australia? Who knows? But it's there. You can get pictures of it and everything else. It looks like a bunch of snowballs on the ground. But if you notice, they have the most amount of earthquakes around the island there. Just as real thing, I'll just tell you right this second. An earthquake just happened a split second in the Dominican Republic. Okay. Africa, around Chile, both had 2.5 earthquakes. Indonesia just had a 6.2 today. Japan region. All right, and that's not a good thing. I mean, Alaska's been having more earthquakes than ever in history. They had the most little ones, but now they're getting super big ones. Their one today was a 4.6, which is big, and as well as like a 2.4. But these big ones that I just told you about, let me just see where this one is. Guatemala, 5.0. All right, these earthquakes are dangerous. Our volcano's been playing games. It went off, it stopped, and it's starting to go off again. The Ring of Fire, I call it, is on fire. All right, it's worse than it has ever been. I've been following it since 1900, and in the past 3 years, it escalated to be the worst ever in all of our history, as far as amount of giant earthquakes in a day. So something's happening. Realize the earth shifts when things like that happen. When a tsunami hits, when all these major storms hit, it shakes the planet, and we shift. One of the great psychics a long time ago came out and called it the earth changes. And he prophesied the world will shift, and the belts along the United States will shift and destroy half of the United States. And he showed what would be left and what would be safe and all that. But again, certain people disappear. I mean, even my friend Sean David Martin was an incredible psychic. He was rated as the top psychic. He was rated at 84%. I mean, Sylvia Brown and all them were like 23%, and all the other top psychics were very low. But I don't want to get into that story. But please, people, you want the truth, it's out there. You know, when you want the truth, don't go to a psychic. Go inside yourself. You'll probably do much better coming out with whatever you come out with. Shapeshifters are not beneficial for us. I mean, the native people talked about shapeshifters, different tribal people talked about it. But did it help their race? Imagine 50 million native people down to less than 1 million today. They said they worked with the star beings, which were the Greys. They said they worked with Bigfoot, which was a lie. Bigfoot doesn't help people. I had a good friend who's no longer a friend. Said he worked with Bigfoot for 40 years and said they were teaching him medicine. He got married and his wife suddenly friends with Bigfoot and dealing with them. They prophesize a lot of things and none of it comes true either. Billy Myers is one of the few people who came out with 100 prophecies in 1950. And he believed they were going to happen, so he sent them all around the world. 89% came true already. But that has nothing to do with aliens, does it? And what aliens are doing or what they're going to do. People, my show, I do it on Tuesdays with a woman that's been abducted half of her life. Tune in then. I'm going to try to do at least one spiritual workshop every week. Waiting to get back with TJ on that. I'm talking about if you want to become aware, you want to realize about death and all the other things that you have no clue about. You say you do, but really, ask Caroline Corey what happens when she dies, who's she going to meet, where's she going to go, what's she going to do, what you going to do about the man in blue, what you going to do, what's she going to do with her life. Promoting aliens. Aliens are lower on the spiritual level than we are because they have no feelings and emotions. Yeah, I've been working with TJ. She just get in touch with me again. She went on a trip for 2 weeks on a boat and stuff. But I'm going to be doing a workshop. TJ, Tina's book, the one I do the show with, just became one of the top books on Amazon. Her UFO book still isn't out. I'm trying to get her to get it done because it's probably going to be the most important book because her stories are incredible. And she's talking about it. All the people I worked with when I was younger went back into the woodwork. They never came out publicly saying, well, my child was taken. And they're probably not even alive right now because they were adults when I was little or young. People, my show is as real as it gets, and I'll challenge anybody on the planet, any religion, any level of awareness that they claim to have. And I've been attacking them all, seriously. Well, attacking them, just facing them on their lies, including the Pope. Tommy Hawksblood here. I hope you got something out of today. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I did the best I could today. But email me. I'll just stick it up there just in case you don't have it. All right. I answer all my mail sooner or later, usually sooner than later. Good, bad, or indifferent, doesn't matter. Remember, I'm doing this out of my heart, not out of money or fame and fortune. I know I'll never be famous. If I wanted to be famous, I would lie to you. I could tell you stories to make you feel good, but that would be a lie. There's nothing to feel good about, people. Not where you are in your level of awareness, not where you're living. This is hell. How are you supposed to be happy? When people say, oh, it's a beautiful day in hell. Yeah, sure. Who's getting killed? What child's being... I don't want to get into all that stuff. It's horrible. It doesn't exist on the soul plane. Doesn't exist on the mental plane. You got to let go of that baggage to get out of this realm. And you got to pay off all the karma that you created. So that's where it's at, people. When you want the truth or not, Jesus is a real person, was a real person, was the most spiritual person to walk this planet. You don't have to believe that either. Believe the Anunnaki were, or any other race. They're ignorant. They have no God. Without God, nothing is important. Nothing is really important to anybody, except the illusion they play as far as drinking, smoking. Why 90% of the people on the planet got to smoke and drink? Because they got nothing else to fall on. And it helps them deal with the garbage that they're dealing with. Worrying about paying your bills, worrying about this, worrying about that. We shouldn't be there. We should be beyond that. We have the technology to produce more food than we are, and now it's going to be taken away from you because of the UN Agenda 21-30, people, and it's real. There's about 8 more years to it before it gets to where it wants to be, and I don't see anybody stopping it anytime soon, people. With that, peace, love, compassion, whatever you need in your life, don't stop until you get it. Don't believe many people. Don't believe too many people at all. I say believe me because I'm saying, look, if I'm lying to you, may God take me out of this reality today, the second. Destroy everything about me completely if I am lying. My life is dedicated to God. Nobody else. Nobody else deserves it. And if you don't think God deserves it, you're in serious trouble, people. Well, till then, bye. Believe in super consciousness, whatever. Think and unite with these other beings for what? What do they think about? God? No. Peace, love. You heard it here first.